never asked me where to go. So, like, for example, when I met my dad in DC, never got the letters because he was and so I caught that when I was a city councilor. And some years in there, and so to say, oh, these are the notes that I looked at, and so writing notes as city council said.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Looks like we have all commissioners present except for the vacant spot. So we'll start with item number 2, citizen communication. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comment on items relevant to the planning and zoning not already scheduled on tonight's agenda. In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published agenda will only be heard by the Commission. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the Commission. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Okay. Is there anyone present wishing to address the Commission? I have one from Sarah Norman, but anybody else? Okay.
And Sarah, did you want to speak now or for the item? Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, so we'll move on then to item 3, which is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the Commission and will be enacted by one motion. These items include preliminary and final plats, where staff has found compliance with all minimum subdivision regulations. All items approved by consent are approved with any and all staff recommendations. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If any commissioner desires to discuss an item on the consent agenda, it will be moved to the regular agenda for further consideration. Are there any commissioners that wish to remove something from the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we will go ahead and read them out. 3A, 2025-0942, approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for November 3rd, 2025, regular meeting. And I guess that's it. So I'll accept a motion and a second to approve the items in 3A.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, that passes. Move on to item number 4, which is the public hearing. The Commission welcomes comment on the following items. Each person providing the public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. The first item is 4A, ORD 0864, and we'll hear from Michael Petrosky.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight's rezoning request is for 604 K Lane. The subject property is located in the Warner Heights addition to the east of the Tobias Acres. I believe there was one error in the staff report. Just to clarify, we are to the west of 685 and we are to the east of North Railroad there. The subject property is located along the northern portion of K Lane with the Justice Center here directly to the north. The subject property was annexed in 1995 where it was given the base zoning district of Agricultural and Development Reserve. This district identifies areas where agricultural uses may be appropriate and serves as an interim zoning classification for land that relatively is undeveloped but has been identified of having future potential growth. As you can see, most of the subdivision is zoned with the ag zoning district, and then we have the single family suburban to the west, and then we have the general business 2 directly to the north, and then we have CL3 directly to the north as well. This year, staff received a request to rezone 604 K Lane here from agricultural to single-family estates. It is staff understanding that the applicant would like to rezone and then later subdivide the property so that they can have their existing house and then build a second house on the new lot. The single-family estate district is intended to accommodate larger lot, single-family development, generally with lots greater than 1/2 acres in size. New single-family estate neighborhoods may be established within this district. However, their location should be carefully considered to minimize sprawl and be consistent with utility and infrastructure master plans. The uses that may be permitted are permitted residential uses are the single-family detached home. You may also have an accessory dwelling unit. Non-residential, there's a golf course, a park, a place of worship, and a school. Conditional uses may allow for an amenity center with utilities, and then a specific use permit may be required for schools that are private or parochial. The future land use map designates this area as suburban residential, which supports 100% residential product, including cluster subdivisions, large lot single family, suburban single family, small lot single family, and accessory dwelling units. Additionally, the comprehensive plan identifies this area as the Central District, a sub-neighborhood that emphasizes the development of locally owned businesses, diversification of housing sought, and thoughtful infill development. The comprehensive plan identifies this area as suburban residential, and the requested rezoning supports the land and future growth goals, number 2 of the Aspire 2040 comprehensive plan, which encourages residential of diverse backgrounds and housing preferences to make Pflugerville home. The proposed single-family estate zoning district aligns with this goal by expanding housing options and supporting long-term home ownership within the community. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning request from agriculture to single-family estates. Newspaper notification was published. Letters were mailed to property owners within 500 feet. And I am here to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Is there a minimum size needed to establish the single-family estate neighborhood, or?
If it were single-family estate neighborhood, the minimum lot size is half, and this lot total is about 2.5. So there is room to have 2 lots there.
Okay. And I think you had mentioned that it could be possible to build a school there. Would a charter school, for example, be a private school or a public school? Do you know?
A charter school, I believe that would be private.
Okay. Yeah, so that would need a special use permit then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll also accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing on this item. And then any other discussion, Commission? No?
It's
All right,
pretty
I'll accept the
straightforward.
motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving 4A?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on then to 4B, which is 4B. I think. So we'll move on to 4B, which is ORD 0862. And we'll hear from Jeremy on this one.
Good evening, Commission. So this item is another rezoning request, but this one is for property along the east side of Weiss Lane, generally southeast of Kelly and Weiss intersection, northeast of the lake. It's represented on the aerial there with the star on there. It's approximately a 2-acre piece of property on the east side of Weiss Lane. West side is what Villages of Hidden Lake. We also have Sorrento just to the south and the reserve at West Creek further to the north. A little background on this. The proposed property is the one that's outlined with the light blue color. But again, it was annexed in roughly 2006 and was zoned to the Agricultural Conservation Zoning District as the interim zoning district. Later in 2008, the property became acquired and went through the process of looking at creating a subdivision for the 20-acre piece of property intended to go for an industrial development. Then in 2009, it was zoned to that light industrial zoning district. It went through a series of replats, and you can see the properties to the east and directly to the north are still zoned the light industrial district. You can also see further to the north and further to the south, those properties have changed zoning districts, and so those are now GB1 district. The one that's furthest to the north, that GB1 district recently was rezoned. to allow for that retail use. So the proposed request is to rezone the property to the General Business 1 District. As you recall, GB1 is usually utilized to establish opportunities for additional retail, office types of development that help provide services to nearby neighborhoods. We have that type of zoning district along 685. We have that along Pflugerville Parkway. Example uses are listed there on the screen, and there was a table that was provided with the staff report, but basically looking at personal services, retail, sales and service, restaurants, daycares, those types of uses are allowed in the GB1 district, would not be allowed in the light industrial zoning district. So the applicant is looking to expand the opportunity for finding a user for the property. It's not a known use at this time, but the GB1 district would fit their needs better. The comprehensive plan identified this area as the Blackland Prairie District. That has a large focus on, there was conversation about Seal Road as well as Pflugerville Parkway. There's a large amount of residential within this district, but the idea was to introduce mixed use and look at ways of increasing efficiencies when we were looking at infrastructure, and also making sure that we were catering towards those nearby neighborhoods. To provide goods and services to people within that area. Zooming into this particular property was identified in the comprehensive plan as neighborhood retail, office, and commercial, with the idea of expanding, the opportunities for that commercial development, providing some neighborhood shopping centers and neighborhood office and commercial. The proposed request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff does recommend approval for the request. We did not receive any concerns or inquiries even on the rezoning request for this property. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Any questions for Jeremy right off the bat? Okay. We'll hear from Sarah Norman, if you'd still like to speak on this one.
I just wanted to say I'm here in case anyone has questions. I'm not looking at you, so.
Okay.
She's the applicant.
All right. Excellent. Okay. So let's get a motion then to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And I vote aye as well. Any opposed? Okay. That one passes. So the public hearing is closed on this item. I guess my only question was, what are those buildings behind it? What kind of use is that?
To the south?
East.
To the right
To
on
the
that picture.
east that are in the light industrial zoning district?
Yes.
So today those are warehouse uses as well as a self-storage facility. So the northernmost one, if I can show that. Yeah, the northernmost one is a self-storage facility, and then the other two are office warehouse type of uses.
Would they have independent access to that, or would they have to drive through this retail center?
They have established access through the platting process, and it was actually how the lots are established right now, have flags that go out towards Weiss Lane, so there's common access.
Okay.
And we own those as well, so.
All right. Those are my only questions. Anything else? All right. I'll take a motion then.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving 4B?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That passes unanimously as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right. Then we will move on to the discuss and consider portion. So, I don't believe we have any consent agenda items that were pulled here. So we'll go straight to 5A. We'll hear from Yasmin on this.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dr. Yasmin Turk, Planning Manager for the City of Pflugerville, and I'm here to present a subdivision waiver request to the subdivision process outlined in Section 15.3 of the Unified Development Code to allow for a construction plan to be submitted, reviewed, and approved without first obtaining an approved preliminary plan or final plat for property located generally southeast of East Pflugerville Parkway and SH 130 intersection between Balaton Boulevard and East Pflugerville Parkway. The applicant is requesting to install a wastewater main line to extend wastewater service to the northern portion of the property. Currently, water service is located on the northern portion of the property, and wastewater service is located on the southern portion of the property. Upon written request and demonstration by the applicant, the Planning and Zoning Commission may consider a waiver or partial waiver from requirements of this subchapter in specific cases where, owing to special conditions of the subject property, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the subchapter may not be physically obtainable, or the requirement does not appear to be reasonably applicable in the specific case, or compliance with the requirement would result in an undesirable situation, and in the Commission's opinion, such a subdivision waiver would not be contrary to the public interest and would not destroy the intent of the provisions of this subchapter. Section 15.3 of the UDC outlines the order of processes for a new subdivision within the city limits in ETJ. The process first requires a preliminary plan for the entire parent tract, which in general is the preliminary engineering of the subdivision and identifies any lot divisions, location of future streets and trails per the master mobility plan, utility extensions within approved utility assignments, along with any necessary easements for those utilities to serve the subdivision, any public parkland that may be proposed, and any phasing of the development. Following approval of the preliminary plan, the final plat process establishes one or more phases of the subdivision as noted in the preliminary plan to create a recorded document solidifying lot lines, easements, right-of-way, and boundaries of the subdivision. The final plat is not recorded until the public improvements necessary to serve the subdivision have been constructed and accepted by the city, or fiscal is posted with the city by the applicant for the public improvements necessary to serve the final platted area. Per the subdivision process, construction plans are the third step in the process and finalize the engineering necessary for constructing the public improvements to serve the subdivision as noted in the approved preliminary plan and the respective final plat area. Once the construction plans are approved, the public infrastructure is constructed and ultimately accepted by the city. The UDC code allows for concurrent reviews provided the order of process is followed and the first round of review is conducted prior to submitting for the next process. Approval of each process is required sequentially. The city requires an approved preliminary plan and final plat for the entirety of the property before the proposed wastewater line may be installed. The city requests the applicant to obtain approval of a preliminary plan, final plat, and construction improvement plan for the property prior to installation of the proposed wastewater line. While staff understands that there are costs for the applicant associated with the subdivision process, based on the review of the applicant's request and the current UDC code, the request does not qualify under the exemption provisions outlined in section 15.1.4C of the UDC. Therefore, staff does not support the granting of a subdivision waiver. The applicant is here as well.
I actually have to talk. Okay, thank you, Dr. Turk. I guess we'll start then, or this is not a public discussion. Okay, so recommending denial of the request. Okay, so is the issue here that they're kind of trying to cut out some of the preliminary subdivision steps so they can just go straight to building the wastewater line without having to do the subdivision process first?
That is correct. They want to start with the construction plan and not with the preliminary plan and final plat, since they want to focus specifically on the construction of the wastewater line.
Okay.
Have they provided a reason for that?
The applicant would like to speak.
Yeah, I
Wanna come up?
think we'd like to hear from that.
Am I allowed to pass these around? All right, hi, Blake Reed. I work with the landowner, developer. So the main issue we have here is it's a large piece of property. We don't exactly know what we want to do with it. We just know we're trying to build restaurants and retail up on the north end, and every restaurant or retail group we talk to says they're not going to sit around and wait on us to go through this whole process, so they go somewhere else. And so really we're just trying to bring sewer to the northern end of the property. going through the plating process makes sense if you know what you're doing. You know, a smaller piece of property maybe. This is like 300 acres, and we have zero idea what's going to happen on it. So, going through the plating process, in our opinion, is a total waste of time, money. We have engineered plans already. Travis County's already pretty much accepted them outside of shows Pflugerville agrees. This entire section is in the county, so it'll be a county road. We are well aware that building this line sets the alignment of the roadway. And you can see there we have the water shown on the other side. We plan only on building the wastewater in order to do commercial development on the north end. And generally, the plats expire, so we'd have to go do the plats. We'd have to get them approved through Travis County as well. And then they expire 2 years later. And so then we just have to start again.
Okay.
I guess I have a question. What's stopping you from potentially like putting the improvements in and platting and using that to bring in the restaurants?
Well, we'd have to plat the entire 300 acres and come up with land uses and lot lines. And we don't even know what restaurants would be, so we don't even know what the lot lines would look like at this point up on the north end until we have users that we're working with.
So from y'all's perspective, it's really challenging to get interested parties without having the utilities in place.
Correct, and I just had that conversation with your economic development man over there, old Jerry, just a second ago. We also do a lot in Hutto in different areas, and I've spoken to several people that would come here, but instead they went to Hutto, went to other places. They like this area. It'll probably set us back 2 to 3 years of time going through this process.
I mean, the actual facilities that would get built wouldn't get built until after the platting and subdivision process is done anyways, right?
We'd go ahead and build it and have the line in the ground
Well, I
ready
mean, like,
and an easement.
A potential partner or a tenant or something, like they wouldn't be able to build a restaurant here until the other subdivision process has been done anyways, right? You can't.
Correct, just for that front area. We wouldn't have to do the subdivision process over the entire 300 acres. It's multiple different lots and different family partnerships. So there's also different owners of different property within that 300 acres.
Okay, so the part that's being kind of obstructed at the moment is just being able to start talking to potential tenants and businesses that would want to build here.
Well, having the sewer line would give them guarantees that utilities are there in existence,
Okay.
and then they'd have everything they need. And then it's just platting just the frontage area up there, which at that point in time you would know what the shape of plats need to be, how the access will work. You'd be working all that out as a developer instead of just blindly guessing, and then
Okay.
having to come back and redo it after it expires, or redo it anyways because you just made something up just to satisfy checking a box.
So just for
Is there a renewal
clarification, just for clarification for the commission, because the way that the code reads, there would still have to be a preliminary plat, so you would, even to get the final plat on the north end for service, you would still have to preliminary that entire parent tract. So it's going to have to be platted at some point. I believe in our discussions, part of it was that you would have to do a TIA, but I believe most of this is going to be commercial, either, granted it's in the county, but commercial land uses, we at least know some of them would be commercial land uses if you're talking to restaurants and more retail. We would need to make sure that those lines are sized appropriately for those types of uses. But again, it does set that right of way. It does set that line because we need to make sure that those lines are not under the street and they're, again, sized appropriately for all of the flow through there, not just the retail restaurants up on Pflugerville Parkway.
And is TIA just for
Sorry, traffic impact analysis.
Okay, cool. Just double checking.
Which we would have to do when we do develop, no matter what.
Yeah.
And our engineer has come up with the sizing. It matches the downhill where we're meeting up with. We're very confident it serves our property, so it's just going to limit
So
us.
you're stating you've actually talked to a wastewater engineer and they are.
We have engineered plans, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. They're ready. I mean, we want to build this line.
So are you making sure that you're coming up with the correct
Assumptions of
assumptions
flow.
for commercial and residential?
Yes, ma'am. We believe
And then you have your tie-in somewhere?
we're tying into the existing stub in the Colorado Sands and the lakeside meadows.
I mean,
And if there was a reality where those lines ended up needing to be moved or a different size, or if there was any issues with the design, that would be at, obviously.
It would be at our cost. It
Cost.
serves our property. We're the developers, so I don't see the city, doing it. I mean, we're building it, so.
Okay.
I'm a little curious how the lines were sized and what the capacity was calculated on if we don't have any idea what the land use is going to be.
Well, we just used our best assumptions of generally higher use users.
Okay. Okay.
But you'd have the same issue if I came with a McDonald's to put on that corner there, which I'm not, by the way. But my point is, okay, so now I have one restaurant user. I have to size the whole line, and I'm just guessing. And so no matter what, it's a ginormous guess that expires in 2 years, and we have to start over.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So I have a question for the city, since we've referenced expiring plats multiple times in this discussion.
Is there anything else we have for the applicant?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Yeah.
Is there a way to renew those expiring plats?
Yes, you can. And we don't expire them if they're in the process of being constructed, so as long as there's the forward movement, it doesn't just expire the 2 years. We have a little
That's what
bit
I
of
thought. I
leeway.
was like, I feel like I've seen developers come up here with plats that were approved multiple years ago and they hadn't expired. Like,
And then yes, correct. So you could have them, technically, yes, they would hit the 2-year mark, but as long as you've had other final plats, then that prelim is good then,
Yeah.
because you've had a final plat recorded. You can also do revised preliminaries, or if you're final platting everything, you can come back in with a replat to distribute those lots a little bit differently.
yeah. So what is the level of detail that's onerous to your project that you can't get?
Well, right now, our only project is building the sewer line to be ready to have a project. So,
But you want restaurants.
sure. But I don't know what size. I don't know if it's going to be a big sit-down restaurant. I don't know if it's going to be.
So if you don't know what size, how do you know what size pipe you need?
Well, the size of the sewer line is based off of overall assumptions from our engineer on the.
It's a breakdown of like what you need for
Yeah.
specific, and so they're probably going for the max or the general
So
commercial.
why wouldn't you just get the plat while you were at it and the preliminary? And then that would be additional information to give to your potential customers, partners.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, what he's thinking is that if they plat it out and they plat out 40,000 square feet of retail, and then they end up only getting 20,000 retail users, and that's including restaurants, then they have to redo their plat, and engineers cost a little bit of money.
They do.
They do cost a little bit. I mean, they're worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything. Just they're
So
expensive.
they'd rather take the risk on
rather-
building
right.
the pipe than hiring the engineers multiple times?
We have hired engineers. This is engineered.
Right.
Yeah, but she means again and
And again, like you've hired
Correct.
engineers for the
And
pipe, which you're
we-
going to do regardless of the order of operations. But
And-
if you don't want to hire an engineer to do a plat until you have committed.
Well, a prime example is we have land on 685, the new Quick Trip. We sold them that. Quick Trip did a plat. That plat is now expired, and I'm trying to do 2 more deals right next to Quick Trip right now, but now I have to redo the plat because it's expired. So it
and it
happens
was
frequently.
inactive for 2 years.
It was active for 2 years, yes, but
No, I mean, was it in Pflugerville?
yeah, it's just right down the street.
685. Yeah, good point. That's only Pflugerville.
Yeah,
You can
I
tell
can
because
almost
the
hit it
name
with a rock.
hasn't changed. It's not Dessaw.
It is
So it
worth
does-
730, so.
It is possible to extend plats, but they do get to a point where they expire if you're not moving quickly, and we are not actively moving quickly until we have something to act on. We are wanting to put a sewer line in to be able to create activity to bring something good to the area. We're hopefully targeting restaurants and uses that we've been told by council and other individuals that the city wants.
Thank you. Dr. Turk, I got a question for you. So when it comes to placing the line, it looks like, I think the road, is the road, ROW already been established through that parcel? Like, do we know exactly where it is? Have y'all done all that?
I believe.
No, it has not yet been completed, so that's one of the concerns from the engineering group, is that the wastewater line, if it goes in, it does set that line for the city, so it may not be at the best location for where the city is, depending on topography, that we don't know because we don't have that information at this time.
Okay, and then it looks like there's an interior boundary that isn't labeled. So my assumption is that's intended for single family of some sort.
The interior boundary is the city limits. Inside of that, and the entirety of the sewer line would be outside of the city limits, including it'd be a county road.
Gotcha, thank you. But it's ETJ, correct?
Yes.
So eventually we'll end up
In
having that.
city.
So, just to make sure I'm understanding, and other folks as well, if people have questions in their mind, is kind of the main points of risk from the city's perspective related to roads that'll need to go in. They're setting a line, but the line is through the property in which they are expecting to develop. But if there was ever changes needed from their plans on plating, they would pay for that or have to make those adjustments. What are the kind of big risks from the city's mind in if this waiver was approved?
Mainly, I believe it's going to be the Colorado sand alignment because that has not yet been set, so allowing the wastewater to come through in an abnormal cycle, when we've got it all codified of how the plating process and development process works, allowing it to jump from that typical process would be a little awkward only because we don't know what the rest of it's going to look like. So if we set a street alignment because of a wastewater line with the street not going in anytime soon, we don't know where those curb cuts need to be. So if we put it in, it would just be curbs all the way down. We don't know how that development is going to end up occurring.
Along those same lines, it looks like on the drawing there's some really faint lines that look like they might be your crossovers or tie-ins to Pflugerville Parkway and then 130. So is that do those markings align with anything that's set by the city in terms of streets that navigate kind of, I guess, what is that, west to north through that? You see those? See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That line right
I
there?
see those, yeah, and then over here,
Yeah,
and
so,
there's also
Not to my
some,
knowledge.
so there hasn't been anything that aligns with that.
there's also blue and.
Keep in mind, we're not building the road right now, so the road intersections where the break-off can change, the sewer line won't really affect.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Yep, sorry. When we do build the road in the future, you can have roads coming off it anywhere along it. It won't necessarily, the sewer line won't really affect that.
Yeah, I think kind of what we're trying to figure out here is whether the risk on paper or the hardship on paper is worth granting an exception for. I think the things that have to do with just construction risk and building infrastructure before you know exactly what's going to be there, it kind of exists anyways, and I think they'd be able to build the line and do whatever they wanted to if they just put a plat down. So it seems to me like the only real difference one way or the other is whether or not they have to go through the process of showing a plat that
Yeah.
aligns with the sewer sizing and locations that they'd like to build it in.
So I think the biggest challenge is time pressure, right? And the thing that we've run into over the last the 5 years that I've been doing this is that there's constantly time and pressure and things, and there's always something happening, and Pflugerville's late to the party in terms of development, et cetera. But what strikes me is that the houses are already there, the people are already there, so the time pressure. It's not like, oh, if this doesn't get built, then these people aren't going to have this thing. It's no,
Right.
the people are already there, and so if this particular piece of property has been under consideration or been under ownership for years, then like those are considerations that could have been addressed in the past. And so for me, especially with considerations to all the work that was done with Aspire 2040 and establishing these processes in place. Just follow the process that's necessary because the other stuff is going to be required in the future anyway. And then ultimately, once those challenges are met, then the people will be served at the appropriate time. Because as he was saying a second ago, it's still going to take from today, right? I don't know, a year or two to get that line in the ground and serviceable, and then another. You can probably co-develop simultaneously another year or 2 or 3 to get a restaurant or 2 or 3 or 4 in that area. But those things take time, and then the ultimate impact is the real challenge with the road tie-ins, right, and the sewer tie-ins, and then what happens to the rest of it. Because, you know, while restaurants and everything would be great at that north end by HEB, or as soon as you could possibly get them, you know, really where we see is our housing issues and other commercial services issues and the pace of development that'll meet the needs of the people that live around here. So, anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess how does this work with, like, the company that we had last month come in and say, how can we make things cheaper to make things bigger, better, beautiful, and spend less time on it? I mean, it seems like he's kind of doing that by adding the water and the wastewater. So, I mean, I do understand about roads and figuring out. So, yeah.
Well, I think the challenge is if there's a process in place and the process is not suitable to all people, then it should be changed, right?
Right.
But why? I mean, genuinely, like, why does the process change
Just for
ad hoc?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I don't-
And if that's the case, if it's a bad process, then we change the process.
Yeah, I think it might be
Well,
possibly a cost prohibitive process for some.
And I support
And there's
that.
a lot of sums.
Yeah,
So not just like one sum. but
Right, I
many.
support that, but I
Yeah.
think our position here at the Planning and Zoning Commission is to take into consideration the impact of the city, not necessarily the cost to
Right.
individuals.
Correct.
well, and
But there is an impact to the city.
And to jump, yeah, there is an impact to the city, and I do get really nervous about putting a sewer line in without a plan. And the sewer line and the engineers that designed it are expensive, and the people who do the plats are expensive, but why would you put something permanent and physical and, you know, probably millions of dollars of concrete into the ground before you had a plan?
It's hard.
So I haven't really heard a compelling reason
Well, that's a
tonight.
developer risk, right? And like anybody
Yeah.
takes that risk, anybody that
Yeah.
chooses to develop anywhere, especially in Pflugerville, we admire, right? It's tough to do, it's risky, and all those things. But you know, our job as this commission is to make sure that we're aligning with the planning and zoning goals and directives that we've all participated in setting. And so, like I said, if there's a process that needs to be changed, then we change the process
Right.
to make it more accommodating for anybody who comes forward
Correct.
to bring a project, you know, as applicable to their condition. You know, and it's tough because, you know, I identify with wanting to have more things faster, quicker, et cetera. But I just think that if the process needs to be reexamined, that's where I would encourage our staff who spent considerable time doing this to really
Yeah.
dial in and figure out, is the process flawed?
I see, yeah, and I see it, right, because I'm thinking, oh, well, it's gonna get hopefully affordable retail and affordable housing because we're getting
Pressure
a
on that.
cheaper, it's not cheap to build water either, or to get water, but it's cheaper now than it may be 4 years from now. So I'm seeing a cost benefit. But also, we have rules and regulations, so,
Well, and if it ends up being in the wrong place,
Correct.
moving it is a heck of a lot more expensive.
for them, not,
Well, I mean, I think you also have to consider the fact that if the line goes in, say the line goes in, then it impacts future decisions about what the city wants to do, because now that's in there, well, we don't want to be in the position of having to rip that out or cause disruption
Right.
to a restaurant that got built there, and now it has to be ripped out, and they're gonna be
Right.
down for business for 6 months,
correct,
and that's not good.
that's not good.
And you could argue that that's a really good way to, I'm not accusing anyone of doing that, but it is a good way to circumvent the process of planning, to say, well, it's already in and it's already there, and and I know you don't like it, but it's already there. Tearing it down is a lot harder
Yeah.
than improving it when it's on paper.
Yeah, I think this would be a great, study for the company that came in and chatted with us. I can't remember their name all of a sudden, but,
So for the UDC,
yeah, for the UDC.
we can certainly
Agreed.
take those comments back.
Because it seems like they would be able to work with developers and like chat with them and the city at the same time and come up with like a game plan to
And-
figure out how we're not saying no or yes to something that may really hinder.
And we can also
future
look at
progress.
providing that predictability, but also the speed in the process as we
Yeah.
go through the UDC. Certainly, we can do that. I will say, in the time that we've looked at any of the subdivision waivers, this is the first time we've been asked for this.
Okay.
So this is a little bit different. Most of the times, it's been a different waiver of block lengths or something. You had one come
Right.
through in April that was a little bit different.
And it's nice, I mean, it's nice for us that we get to hear it and that we get to say, hey, UDC was here yesterday with Keister, whatever their name.
We had Freeze and Nichols.
Freeze and Nichols, yeah. Sorry, I work with a
Okay.
few, so I don't know anymore. So it would be nice to bring that up to them because
Yeah.
this is obviously an issue and
Yeah,
maybe,
certainly.
maybe because nobody else maybe because other engineers go, we can't do it because X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'd be great if Pflugerville changed some of that.
And we
Made
can
it
certainly
different.
look at all of that with the UDC and have those
Yeah.
bigger conversations. And maybe it's an alternate process when it's something like this to where, and that's pretty much where the subdivision waiver comes in is
Right.
they have the ability to ask, but then we're still seeing some issues with the street alignment or even knowing, I think the original request came in 6 months ago. So then if we are still working through the process of, okay, that doesn't work with the process. And then 6 months later, we've got the application in to be able to present to you.
Right,
Time is money, and that was 6 months that we could have had.
right, yeah.
One also thing on the consideration, just like they've got some kind of conceptual road drawn in here, right? And looks great, makes a lot of sense. But, you know, if the city says, well, we actually want the road to come down and snake over and do this because we're trying to limit speed on that road, or we're trying to create more opportunities for development, or, you know, we want it to look a different way, or however it's platted. I think that's you know, where the lines go sets where people go.
Correct.
Right, and the city is very much invested in where the people go. The lines are underneath all that, and I think the challenge we have, especially as we kind of start closing out our last large parcels that are in the really easily developed, you know, near desirable land, as opposed to way out far on the east ETJ.
Correct.
Just from accessibility and traffic and potential future use, then, you know, our responsibility absolutely lies with the city to say, like, well, okay, let's just follow the process on things like this. If it was further out, right, I could imagine this conversation be a little differently. But since we have a Colorado Sand tie-in that will ultimately be as busy, most likely, as 685, like I could see
Yeah.
that being a 4-lane divided.
And that's a
You
good
know.
Also,
question, too,
these
but
are-
why don't we have like a future plan for Colorado Sands? Why
We
is that
do,
not
that's
projected for
a-
5 years?
Or I don't know about the plan, it's not designed yet, but I mean, isn't that one of the bond
I
projects?
don't believe so at this
Is it
time.
not?
I
It's
don't
not,
think
just
on the-
kidding. The northern part was. Okay, so
okay.
Colorado Sands, just not this part of Colorado Sands. Got it, okay.
So it seems like the city should start chatting about Colorado Sands.
But the way to do that is to get it flat.
Correct.
There you go.
So I think a lot of the hang up here is about timing. It seems to be kind of the thing that's motivating the waiver request, and the thing that maybe is that some of us are saying, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable request, is do things quicker, develop it faster.
Right.
So just to make sure that we're all working with the same data point here, how much time is being saved if it's granted for going through that process? Well, like the parts they're skipping, like a normal for this size project, how long do you think that would take?
So because it's not really a skip, it's more of a move it in front, and then you'd still have to come back and plat. It's
Yeah.
really just moving where that would be done in the process.
Okay.
Essentially, but I mean, our timelines are all the same. Typically, it's a 15-day business day upfront, and then 10 days for each subsequent submittal. But we also do offer expedited review in the code. I believe that was added a few years
Yeah.
ago, so we do that as well.
So
So I can't really say, usually, I mean, I know that both the planning and engineering teams, bless you, do respond within our timeframes. Just in a quick audit, doesn't look like we missed those timeframes. So for that, I would say that if there are slowdowns, typically it's not going to be on the city side. It's going to be more on the resubmittal. Once you get your comments back, they've got work to do to resubmit.
So it'd be fair to say that maybe around a month to 60 days would be a long
Right.
enough
I mean,
range.
there may be conversations that we should have with engineering, just if
Yeah.
we know that the area is going to be commercial, then what does that TIA look like? Do we actually need to have a full TIA, or is it more of a statement of, yes, we're going to meet our peak trip hours of 2,000? Do we need the full TIA, or what would the other uses be? Does building the roadway right now make sense if it dead ends essentially right behind the existing HEB over there? Is that going to impact anything off of Ballatin and the 130 corridor to have those homes come out to be able to access that retail? Or would it make more sense to go ahead and start building the road? And what would that impact be, or what would those roadway impacts end up paying for? So there's a lot
I
of
mean,
those.
it might reduce traffic too at the same time.
Correct. So there's a lot of those
So-
considerations of not just where the roadway goes, but who needs to use the roadway, and is the impact necessary for.
So let me ask you a different question about platting. So you still have to plat it no matter what.
Correct.
At some point. So, and it's 325 acres. Can it be platted in 300 acres and then 25 acres and then it's replatted at a certain point? So
Or you could prelim it out like that and then just have the final plat be that northern lot and then just revise a prelim later. And once that final plat is recorded, I believe the code says that your prelim doesn't expire. There may be things that change within the code as far as that may not be vested at that point, which I would need to look into a little bit further just to know the exact, a lot of times.
He's leaning like he has something.
It does expire.
I don't know of one that we've expired on the prelims.
I know we've had that issue before.
You had a recorded final plat? Okay, I can look into that one.
Well, so I guess what I'm getting at is if you have this whole big piece, right, and then the restaurants or whatever, the retail is going to be right up here at the end of the line, which is what it seems like has been is what they're proposing. So if that's a final plat recorded and it's 5 acres with 2 big sit downs and then 3 drive-throughs, right? Yeah, it's probably 6 acres. Then that becomes final, and then the rest still is in preliminary. So then they could still be cut up.
Yeah, or if it was a final plat, then you would just replat. I've seen replats come through in a prior lifetime that I think we were on our 12th replat.
We've seen replots.
But see, like that's another aspect of that too.
That
So
cost.
if you so to get that final plat though, to get the sewer line in there, that would end up with that'd go through the roadway and you'd know where that is, and we'd all go through all that, and then you'd have the final, and that wouldn't take more than 30 or 60 extra days to get to there, and then the rest remains untouched and then could be cut up for industrial use or single family or retail or as needed, and the line would then be in place. We'd know where the roads were going to be. We'd know where the stubs were going to be. Know where the curbs are going to be and all that stuff.
Correct.
The developer would still take the risk of sizing the line, according to the city's guidelines, but if they don't want to show what they expect to be there and it's missized, then it's, they're the ones that are going to have to go in and resize it or do something different or be stuck with what they have.
But then the city has the information they need to continue with their civil projects that are related to it and
Yeah.
impacted by it.
Yeah, it's the timing and then just being locked in, although it's not really locked in because you can revise it.
Well, in those 300 acres that you have, are you dedicating any of that for Colorado Sands to give back to the city? Because I know some developers do that to make things work smoothly.
That hadn't been a conversation piece. I was working on getting the sewer, and then
Yeah, because
our thought was the road would be built as things develop down.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at building the road at this time.
Okay, because I think that would, I've had a developer, give rights and then like carve out 6 or 8 acres to make the road, and then obviously the city saves money with the developer doing that.
Sure,
You have
we've done
300
that.
acres.
We've done that in the past.
Yeah, so have you brought that have you brought that to the city and chatted with them about that?
We hadn't gotten
Because
that
then you
on
could
this conversation.
potentially redo this whole meeting in January with going, I'm gonna dedicate Colorado Sands. And then city goes, yep, great, brings it to us, and we're like, yeah, that works because we're changing out the UDC code and we're trying to make everything match together to make everything cheaper and faster, better and stronger. Just a thought. I don't know if you guys desperately trying to get rid of property, but city of Pflugerville would love it.
Do you speak for the city?
I'm speaking for the city. I know I'm not, but I'm just saying, like, it just makes everything cheaper. We are the city.
We're residents.
I'm a
You're
resident here, so I mean, if you can save some of my tax dollars, that'd be great. Because I'm sure we're gonna come to your retail centers and spend money.
Well, the Timmermans have over the years donated quite a bit of land.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, it's not what I'm saying, it's not uncommon for developers to dedicate roadway. So,
There's definitely some conversations that we
Yeah,
can still have
okay.
if they had not yet agreed.
Yeah, and those are all good things that can happen during that process that
Right.
they're asking the waiver for. So
Right.
it's all part of the existing process.
and it does help when the UDC codes change, that we also like talk about parkland, talk about roadways, and make sure that all of those are syncing together and we don't have like an old code out there, and then we're stuck.
We did actually donate the Colorado Sands that is existing.
Awesome.
So I think we've heard from everybody on the commission here that wants to speak. Any other comments from our side? Any other questions for applicant or the city?
Yeah, one question. How quickly can the applicant come back to us or go through the process with you
To come back to,
to revisit this particular item?
If we want to revisit, I don't believe there's anything in the code that says, this is not similar to a variance where if it was denied, then I don't believe you, it's more of a waiver. I don't believe there was anything that I read in the code that said you couldn't come back and re-request. And if it was slightly different, I think we could make the argument, if the request was different, that we have something different to present. I think if it was the same request, we would not want to bring it back on an agenda, just, hey, it's the same thing, lather, rinse, repeat. But if it was something new where we've had those conversations and maybe we've been able to work something out, or, hey, we now know the alignment and this is what we're willing to do, maybe there's a separate development agreement, things like that, then maybe that would be, I think, then it would be a separate request, and I think we could make the argument.
All right, thank you.
Then I think we'll we probably do a motion here. And so the city recommended denial. So whoever makes the motion, please make that clear which way the motion is.
Motion to approve. Wait, sorry.
Did you want to approve the waiver or
No,
deny the waiver?
motion to align with the city recommendation to not approve the waiver.
I will second the motion to deny the waiver.
All right. So then
Good wording.
all in favor of denying the request?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed to denying the request? Okay, hearing none, that passes unanimously as well. Well, yeah. The waiver is denied. Yeah, we'll just, I also, do we have anybody else that wanted to speak on 4A? We can't change the decision, but be happy to hear any other public comments if there are.
If it's the K,
K Lane, yes.
So if you had any questions, we can reopen and recall the public hearing if you had any questions or
I
comments.
I live right next to it, so I just wanted to voice.
Yeah. Do you want to
I
recall
can
the
move
public
to
hearing at
reopen public hearing
Okay,
on
motion.
4A. I move.
7:51?
I have a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor of reopening the public discussion on 4A?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Hello, my name's Jimmy Turek, 700 K Lane. Lived there since 1978. Old man Warner, when he sold the lots, he put in his contract, single home each lot. And I think there's currently 7 homes in that neighborhood. And 6 of them are still, all 7 are single homes. It's a cul-de-sac. And then we have this one lot now that they've only owned for a year. And they want to make more houses out of it, which I understand, that's fine. One house is fine, but if they want to do 5 or 6, that'll increase the traffic, and this is a cul-de-sac. And then you have 6 other homes that are 3-acre lots that are single-family homes. I'm just concerned about the traffic, because we already have the Tea Place and the Pop Shopping Center. So getting in and out of K Lane is horrible already. So that's all I have. I just wanted to voice that and let y'all know that, there are 6 other families that live on that cul-de-sac, and traffic is already bad.
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on the same topic? As a reminder, please state your name and address for the record.
Joaquin Arevalo, 605 K Lane. I live right next to him, and I'm also concerned about the traffic. And also concerned if there's a lot of traffic there, that you need to put a traffic light on that corner. You need to open that street. I don't know how that's going to work out. There's no sewage, proper sewage. There's no water collection system in there. So if you put multiple homes in that area, then that's going to be a congestion issue based on what it is. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And this will come before city council, right?
It does as well. There will be a separate hearing on this item, and then we do have staff, you wanted staff to answer after the public hearing is closed. Just to reiterate the lot size, because it cannot be, the multiple houses, it was less than a half acre. So with the lot sizes right now, I think that may help alleviate some of the concerns, but certainly we do have staff here that can answer.
Because it's 2.5 acres right now.
Correct.
And then they're gonna make it 2.
So SFE does half acre lots.
Yeah, I think
And
they
then, of
did,
course-
they did request the largest lot size requirement possible for the updated zoning.
Right, yeah, so anybody with concern on this item should definitely speak to the city representatives here or any other business day.
On the 16th, is that on the 16th? Or is that city council next?
But I would say that they did intentionally pick I understand your concerns. I also live on a cul-de-sac and have kids. But in reading through the materials for the packet for this, I would say that they did intentionally pick, as they're updating the zoning for this lot, that it is the fewest houses per acre option available. So, and it's a minimum lot size of a half acre, right? That's what we said earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have to close public?
Yeah. If
Move to
there's
close
nobody
public
else
hearing.
to speak on this one, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing again on 4A.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll reclose the public hearing on that one. And just a reminder that it already had passed, so it will go to city council. Okay, so then, skipping back to the last item in section 5, which is 5B, RES 1378, hear from Kristen.
Alrighty, good evening, Chair and Commission. Tonight, we're gonna go over the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER. So this is a report that is submitted annually, and it lists all of the accomplishments and progress towards the consolidated plan goals for the last program year. So for program year 2024, this year, we continued to work on the design for Parkway Drive, which has turned to be more complicated than originally anticipated, so plans are taking longer, but we are making progress towards completing those with construction and later next year, but still in this program year. We also completed the streetlight program, which brought the infrastructure for new streetlights, which is within the Edgemere and Windermere subdivisions. That infrastructure has been completely installed and is ready for Encore, who has right-of-way permits in with the city to install those lights throughout those block groups. It also saw a continuation of the youth and senior scholarships with 19 total residents, with 17 youth and 2 seniors utilize the scholarship this year for programs through the Parks and Rec, as well as memberships to the Park and Recreation, the Recreation Center. We also partnered with Workforce again this year to fund 6 residents for workforce training, as well as providing support to them in the form of gas cards or bus fare to get to their trainings in and around the Austin area. Total this year, we expended $304,316 CDBG dollars towards programs and projects that help the low to moderate income residents in our within our city. So the next steps for this from tonight will be to go to City Council next week for a recommendation of approval, and it will be submitted to HUD by the end of the month for them to meet their deadlines, and then we'll go from there. Any other questions?
Are there any kind of lessons learned from this year that you guys will take into next year to do anything differently?
So going forward with the 2025 annual action plan, We have not chosen to take forward the Workforce Solution program at this time. It is not meeting the parameters that we were looking at. There is the ability to bring that back later once we have a more established, I can't think of the word, relationship with them and to move forward. So that can come back. And then we are also going to be reaching out to our senior centers in the city, as well as we have a few places that have housing for seniors, and then also promoting it more on our social medias and things like that to get out the new senior scholarship. This was the first year that we've had it. It did not get as utilized as we would like, so we are going to really push that out and promote it more by reaching out and finding them in the community where they are instead of having them come to us.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I like
Have you
that.
figured out or thought about how to do that?
So we have with our Fetch a Ride program, one of our other planning staff members went out to those senior living. They provided me with that list. I will be doing the same thing. I will be going to them, offering presentations, providing them with the flyer that will get them to the application and things like that. So that has worked really well for the Fetch a Ride program. So we're going to mirror it for the recreation scholarships.
That's really smart. Nice.
Can you send out letters? Like,
We haven't. We could, but we haven't sent them out to block groups. We've partnered with the school district before to get those out. That has been a little tough because the school district has more residents than just those who live in the city, and the scholarship is just for those that live within the city. And so it has brought more traffic to us, but not always those that are part of the ISD, but also in the city.
And meet the income requirements.
Correct. We do have a block group that has an elementary school, so we will be targeting that elementary school as well, because it is firmly within our block group. So there is a reasonable assumption that we will target a lot of residents there. So we are going to reach out to that elementary school as well.
And are you
I mean, but the senior citizens that are not in senior centers, are you reaching out to, how are you reaching out to them?
So we have the flyer at the rec center as well, and rec staff is aware of it. So if they come to the rec center there, they can see it. We also have social media that our comms department will be putting it out to social media there as well.
It sounds like y'all are doing a really good job keeping things in alignment with the federal priorities right now, which is a good way to manage a grant right now and has a lot of implications on what you do in 2026. So kudos. I know it's not been easy this year.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. I'll accept a motion then to approve the item.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Okay, I think this is our last scheduled meeting of the year, so just want to say thank you to the other commissioners and especially big thank you to all the city staff and everything. So I think y'all did a great job this year, and hopefully it'll be great next year as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know volunteering takes a lot of time and it is often thankless. So thank you so much for actually taking time out of your lives to help make Pflugerville better. As a resident for almost 20 years, it does mean a lot. So, and now I get to be stuck too. But it means a lot to see how well the boards actually look at all of the issues and have thoughtful discussions. So thank you so much, and looking forward to next year. And if you want to reapply. I think we have 4 openings. And of course, we also have a ton of other boards. So if you are happen to be coming off of this board because you get termed out, we also have other things you can do with the city.
I know, but we're losing 2. We lost 1 already. decided to run.
And then
for
certainly,
council.
yeah, if you need more family time, I fully understand that as well.
Hey, kids, are you listening? I'm.
Let me adjourn the meeting at 8:04. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.